What's up, everyone? This is Corefish from the Wolfpac AZ. I just wanted to come in and do a quick video for this weekend, Wrestlemania weekend. Super important, obviously. We also had Raw after Mania tonight as well, so I wanted to get this out because a lot happened. So let's just jump right into it. So we had a leadoff match with Jey Uso versus Gunther for the championship. So Jay hopefully finally getting some redemption. Overall, I thought it was a pretty good match. It could have ended a little bit differently. Along with a lot of people, felt like Gunther tapped out really quickly once he put the sleeper on. I understand that, there were a couple splashes, Uso splashes before this happened, but even with that being the case, it was still a little bit quick. Or maybe you protect Gunther and don't have him tap out, you have him pass out, like they've done with other champions to, kind of protect that legacy, I guess. But overall, congrats to Jey Uso. That was awesome to see him get his WrestleMania moment after weeks and weeks of torture by Gunther, especially with him being handcuffed and forced to watch Jimmy get all bladed up by him and Gunther paint himself with Jimmy's blood. So, yeah, very, very cool. The next thing was New Day coming in against the Viking Raiders. Overall, I thought this was probably the least impactful match of the card for both nights, in my opinion. New Day is always awesome, of course. They are both great workers. We were kind of hoping for some Big E appearance, some type of head game from Big E, but it didn't happen. Viking Raiders, they've fallen a little bit flat, in my opinion, as the champions. So I kind of welcome the New Day taking over as the tag team champions, and I'm interested to see what they can do with their most recent run. Next thing, we had Jade Cargill against Naomi. This actually was a really great match. I feel like Jade Cargill has improved a lot, and even though some people are saying that spot where she had her on her shoulders and spun Naomi around to do the power bomb, that it was kind of a botched, but it didn't look like it anyways, and it didn't seem like Naomi got injured after that, but who will we'll keep an eye out for that and see if Naomi actually did come in and get injured from that happening. But Jade actually won that match via pinfall, so I thought it was overall a pretty good match. Then we had the Samoan Werewolf, Jacob Fatu, winning his first singles championship off of LA Knight. LA Knight being a transitional champion was kind of surprising, but at the same time, when Jacob was the one that it was going to, I feel like it was appropriate. So, congrats to Jacob Fatu for becoming the new United States champion. Well deserved, to be honest. And it was actually a really solid match. That BFT out of nowhere was crazy. That was so hype. So, yeah, congrats again to Jacob Fatu. Next thing we had El Grande Americano. This was my biggest upset of the night. To be 100% honest, I did not see him winning, even though it was against Rey Fenix and not Rey Mysterio. Since Rey did sustain an actual injury, it wasn't just a storyline injury. So, first off, congrats to Rey Fenix for getting on the card of his very first WrestleMania, along with his brother Penta as well. So, both of them, they're doing awesome. It seems like WWE has a lot of faith in them, which is really, really great. So I'm excited to see where both of them go. But overall, I thought this was a very, very solid match. I mean, Chad Gable always puts on amazing matches with pretty much everyone that he matches up against. So I'm not really super surprised, but I thought that Ray was going to end up taking it. So seeing El Grande winning was really, really interesting. And then we had El Hijo del Vikingo getting in there and getting involved with the match, and no DQ happened, but it was really awesome to see the AAA member getting in there, and he had an awesome match with Kenny Omega in AEW. I don't know if a lot of you watch AEW, but we're gonna talk about it here because that he does great stuff and really high end spots and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a really solid match. Tiffy time against Charlotte. This had it was a very solid match. Tiffany definitely um, should have come out the victor, and she did. So congrats to her on retaining the title and not being squashed by Charlotte, like uh, like a lot of talent has. Even after their back and forth in that unplanned spot, with the words that they had against each other um, on SmackDown, you know, I kind of thought Charlotte might be able to pull it out, but overall, I predicted that Tiffy was going to win, like a lot of us did, and I'm glad that that's what happened. And then we had the main event. We had Seth Rollins with the double cross by Paul Heyman. So Seth is a Heyman guy now, which I actually called. I called it perfectly down to the spot of Seth pinning Roman instead of CM Punk. It made more sense in my mind. I kind of figured that it would go like that to where Heyman would turn on Roman last. And that's exactly what happened. We saw the low blow to CM Punk after Heyman slid the chair to him. And then we saw the low blow to Roman when he was about to hit Seth. So Seth gets another one over on Roman again at WrestleMania. So I'm interested again in the Seth versus Roman situation that is gonna, play out, especially after tonight on Raw, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The next night we do have night two of WrestleMania. The first thing that happened was the triple threat for the Women's World Championship. We had Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, and Io Sky coming into Sunday, and it was actually a really, really solid match. I thought it was pretty great, especially after the Tiffy and Charlotte match on day one. This was miles better. I think because all three of them play so well off of each other and there was no animosity outside the ring. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is, but all three of these women are really great workers and Io pulled it out, which I'm very, very happy for. I did not want to see her be a transitional champion. So I'm super, super happy. Plus she's part of Damage Control and I love Damage Control. So kudos to Io Sky. The next thing was Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre in the Sin City Street Fight. There was a moment there to where I thought Damian Priest, like going into this, would take the match against Drew McIntyre, but as me and Joel, the other Wolfpack member, were talking about on the way to the watch party that we had, we were throwing out future opponents for Jey Uso if he won the title. This was on day one, of course. So we were saying, a few people, and Drew was the first person that I thought of. It just made sense because of the history with the bloodline and things like that. So I ultimately had to flip my decision and my prediction to have Drew winning, which he did end up winning, and it was a pretty solid match, to be honest. There wasn't any blood. There were multiple tables, which was really cool. There wasn't anything other than that, if I remember. There was a chair involved, actually. Drew Claymored Damien through or into a chair to end the match. So, I mean, there was a few weapons involved, but not a ton. There was also the steel steps involved as well, but not as many as I thought, actually, with the street fight. And they kept it in the ring. So, yeah. The selfies were hilarious though when he took the guy's phone and took him, and then he posted on X afterwards, bored at work, and then the picture with Damien in the background saying "still bored at work." LOL. Great. Drew is on a tear with his social media presence. The next thing was the Fatal Four Way for the Intercontinental Championship. So this was the biggest toss up of the night for me. It could have went any of the four ways for any of these guys to win. I thought it was a little bit too soon for Penta to win, so I thought it was down to Braun, Dominic, and Finn. And then my guy, obviously wearing a shirt, I thought it was gonna be Finn taking it and sacrificing Dom to win, but then it went the opposite way, and Dom sacrificed Finn to win. which makes sense also. I'm not mad about it. Congrats to Dom for his first singles championship on the main roster, because I know that he's been a North American champion while he was on the main roster. It was real during that really weird time with NXT. So, um, yeah, I thought it was a solid match. There were some crazy spots, of course. They have a lot of, they have Braun Breaker who gives you viral moments. They have Penta who gives you viral moments. Dom and Finn in their own right give you viral moments. So overall, I thought it was pretty great, especially because JD, Judgment Day was the two were teaming up for the most part at the beginning, and I knew that it was going to go that way, and then it was going to come down to those two, and Dom ended up taking it. So congrats again. And then we had Randy come out. So I wasn't disappointed with who came out because it's awesome for him to get his WrestleMania moment. I just thought it was going to be someone else. I thought it was going to be a person that debuted tonight on Raw and not Joe Hendry. It was really cool. It was a fun match. They're both great workers. At the end, Randy subjected Joe Hendry to one or two more RKOs. I can't remember exactly. And then he also did the turn pose as well and did the Randy Orton pose. So that was really, really, really entertaining. So I'm glad that Randy wasn't left off the card. It was a solid match, nothing too spectacular. Then we had AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. And, they always put on bangers. Um, what ended up happening is AJ refused the brass knuckles from Karrion Kross. Karrion got mad, obviously. It's leading to more stuff down the line, which is going to be a really fun feud because Karrion really wants AJ to embrace the darkness again and become that heel again, that heel AJ. And then the distraction ended up causing Logan to deliver the knockout punch and beat AJ. It was very unfortunate. I predicted AJ to win. I don't think Logan needed the win. I think AJ needed it more, especially because he's getting older. Like Carrion said, we don't know how many more WrestleManias AJ has, under him. Then we had another surprise. We had the Women Tag Team Championship match where it was Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez against Lyra Valkyria. And it wasn't a huge surprise to a lot of us. Most of us guessed that it would be Becky Lynch because there was really not any other women that could come in. Maybe Roxanne Perez, but then we were like, why? That made less sense than Becky Lynch did. Even though Becky said that she's not going to come back and wrestle anytime soon, we still kind of figured that it was going to be her. And lo and behold, it was Becky Lynch that ended up coming out and tag teaming with Lyra Valkyria, and they beat Liv and Raquel. So Becky gets her redemption against Liv because she actually pinned her after a manhandle slam. And yeah, it was, it's always a fun match when Liv and Becky are involved. So another fun match, and it was pretty decent actually. So yeah, we'll see where that goes, and we'll talk about it a little bit tonight because they had a rematch. Then everyone's the match that is on everyone's mind: John Cena against Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship. Was it going to be John Cena's 17th? Was Cody going to defend against that and not let this heel Cena, have his way with WWE and just wrestling in general, like Cena has been saying? Ultimately, Travis Scott came in and distracted Cody. Cody hit him with a crossroads, which actually was cool to see. I didn't think that that was going to get a spot, but it did. And then, Cena ended up hitting Cody with I think it was like the fourth AA, I want to say, if I remember correctly, and won his 17th world championship and surpassed Ric Flair's record. So that was a very, very awesome spot. I know that we were pretty divided in our game with if Cody was going to win, if Cena was going to win, and Cena ended up pulling it out. So overall, I thought it was a really, really strong WrestleMania weekend, to be honest. There was a lot of great matches. There was a few that fell flat, like I mentioned, that I wasn't super into, but overall, I thought there were really cool spots. So, yeah, we will jump into Raw, and yeah, WrestleMania was has come and gone, and we'll see what happens next year in New Orleans.